In school, we learn that life is a combination of nucleic bases packaged with a phosphate and sugar, or more lovingly known as DNA. And when two haploid cells decide to go on a diploid date, a mixture of DNA becomes the blueprint for every bone, hair, and crooked tooth in the human body. If cells could figure out how to read the blueprint, then perhaps a computer could too, and from that idea, DNA phenotyping was born. DNA phenotyping is a process in which a computer algorithm reads a DNA sample and shoots out a picture of the sample's owner. Basically, the computer is acting as an eyewitness while doubling as a criminal sketch artist. While the technology is still new, debuting in the market in 2011, the U.S. Criminal Justice Department has already begun to use it in unsolved cases. The current problem with the justice system is that it's too retro to keep up with the hip hoodlums. The same wazoos aren't committing crimes every day, so the traditional DNA method of speed dating a DNA sample with a database can't find matches because they don't exist. The FBI reported that in 2011, only 50% of cases were solved, forcing law enforcers to spend more of an effort on solving and investigating a crime rather than watching the streets. Current manhunts for suspects are extremely tiresome and exhausting for those involved and their pocketbooks. With DNA phenotyping, a picture of the suspect is already available, so the time searching, the energy needed, and the money spent are all reduced. With over 211,000 cold cases, the Department of Justice is in dire need of a superhero, and the next best thing was DNA phenotyping. But there's a second side to this gift from science. DNA phenotyping is used to identify attributes of the DNA sample. Hair color, eye color, skin color, general facial features, and ethnicity are all the major traits that are specified. However, some predict that eventually scientists will be able to identify age, height, genetic disorders, and even personality traits. The bluntness of the test results have raised some red flags among bioethicists. The already tight tensions between law enforcement and ethnical groups may be further strained. Bioethicist Pamela Sanker explains that the algorithms responsible for producing the profile are better at understanding specific races. Subpopulations are harder to identify and therefore may put more blame on a specific race. In addition, there are concerns that the public may make associations between violence and an ethnicity. Rather than an individual's choice, it may be perceived that he or she committed the crime because it was in their genes to do so. And further still, there is a small legal issue with that thing called the Bill of Rights. More specifically, the Fourth Amendment, or the right to refuse unnecessary searches without a warrant. Knowing if a person has heritable cancer based on their used coffee cup is a bit of a privacy concern. And of course, there is a very large and very realistic concern of is even going to work. The government is pooling tax money into research and the intention that one day DNA phenotyping will solve quite a few forensic problems. If the technology never proves to be useful, then millions of dollars would have been paid to produce a failure. So here lies the question. Should the U.S. Congress continue funding the development of DNA phenotyping because it could increase the success in closing serious offense cases and lower the costs that accompany crime scene investigations and manhunt? Or should the U.S. Congress cut funding for research because it could lead to racial profiling and break the Fourth Amendment of the Bill of Rights, and the funds required for the development of DNA phenotyping could be better used in other U.S. defense programs? And here lies the truth. Neither of the sides are perfect. However, the middle ground looks promising. Rather than publicizing personal information about the DNA sample, like their favorite fruit, regulations should require that only physical attributes are identified. That way, the Fourth Amendment won't get as angry since everyone can see physical traits. And before companies start advertising their miracle algorithms, some requirements should be implemented. An accuracy test should determine if the DNA phenotyping results are developed enough to be used successfully. The more accurate the test, the better the computer can identify subpopulations. That then relieves the racial concerns while simultaneously making more successful tests to assist law enforcers in catching the crook. DNA phenotyping will help forensic labs both identify bodies and suspects. But before it can begin saving money, time, and manpower, it needs to develop with a helping hand from government funding. The justice system is outdated, and DNA phenotyping is the next boost that will help chase after the ever-evolving criminals.